The ceiling exploded inward before I even set the tray down. 6 shapes dropped through the broken vent like shadows given weight, landing soft and silent across the marble floor of the embassy hall. Their skin shifted colors as they moved, blending with the walls, the drapes, the spilled light from the chandelier above. I had seen that kind of movement before, in briefings, in warnings, in nightmares I never told anyone about. Kasari operatives, trained killers from a world that did not believe in warnings. And their target was 11 feet away from me, crouched behind an overturned banquet table, with both hands pressed over her mouth. Princess Leora Vantessa, of the Ashen Spire, 16 years old by her people's count, older by ours. My charge for 3 years, the only reason I had not slept a full night since the peace talks began. I had walked into the hall carrying drinks for the diplomats, because even the guardian of a planetary heir gets asked to help when the staff runs thin during a summit. I set the tray down slowly, quietly, the way you set down anything when 6 professional killers have not noticed you yet. That would not last. One of them turned his head toward me, unhurried, almost bored. His voice came out flat through a translator box strapped to his throat. "This does not concern you. Leave, and you continue living." I looked past him at Leora. Her eyes met mine across the wreckage of the hall, across 20 feet of shattered glass, and one large hole in the ceiling, and I watched her fear shift into something else. Something like hope. That look was the whole reason I had this job. "Funny," I said. "I was about to tell you the same thing." He tilted his head at me, the way you look at something small and foolish that has wandered somewhere it should not be. I understood the reaction. On paper, this was 6 trained assassins against 1 man with a serving tray and a sidearm he had not even drawn yet. On paper, this ends fast. Paper does not know anything about people. I moved first. The nearest one, the one who liked the sound of his own voice, caught the edge of the tray across his throat before his blade even cleared its sheath. He went down without a sound, and by the time his knees hit the floor, I was already turning to the second. 5 left. The room understood what had just happened, a half-second too late. I want to be honest about something, because it matters more than the excitement of a fight ever could. I was afraid. 6 trained killers is 6 trained killers, no matter how confident anyone sounds. But fear is only information. It tells you the moment is real. It does not get a say in what you do next. What I did next was plant myself between the remaining 5 and the table where Leora was hiding, and I did not move from that spot again. The third one came at me low, aiming for my legs, a clean and practiced motion. It might have worked on someone else. I caught his shoulder and used his own speed against him, sending him hard into the overturned table, missing Leora by inches. She flinched but did not scream, and I was grateful for that, because sound would have brought the last 2 straight to her. 2 came together next, which was their mistake, because it meant I only had one direction to defend. I ducked under the first strike, and used the second attacker's own momentum to send them both stumbling into the broken glass wall behind them. Neither one got back up right away. One left. The smart one. The one who had hung back and watched instead of rushing in like the others. He understood now that this was not going the way his employers had promised. He made a choice that told me everything about his training. He turned away from me entirely, and lunged straight for Leora. I did not have a blade. I did not have time to draw my sidearm cleanly. What I had was the only other thing within reach, a fire suppression canister mounted on the wall beside me, and I threw it without thinking twice. It caught him across the shoulder and knocked him sideways into a support column hard enough to end the conversation for good. Silence. After. The good kind. The kind where you can hear your own heartbeat finally slowing down. I turned around. Leora was still crouched behind the table, both hands over her mouth, staring at me like she was seeing something she did not have a word for in any of her native languages. Later she would tell me the closest translation her people had for what I had just done was something like the storm that chooses a side, which I always thought was a kinder way of putting it than what I actually felt in that moment, which was mostly relief. "You're safe," I told her, crouching down so we were eye level, keeping my voice steady, even though my hands were not quite there yet. "It's over. You're safe now." "They told me your people were unremarkable," she said quietly, still catching her breath. "My tutors said humans were common. Short-lived, not built for something like this." I helped her stand, glancing toward the doorway where I could already hear real security finally arriving, 4 minutes too late, a delay I fully intended to raise with someone afterward. "Your tutors were not wrong," I said, and I meant it. "We are common. We do not live long compared to your people. Most of us will never do anything the history books remember." I looked around at the wreckage of the hall, the shattered glass catching the chandelier light, the 6 shapes slowly groaning back toward consciousness on the floor. "But there is one thing we are very good at," I said. "When something we care about is threatened, we do not stop to calculate the odds first. We just move. Ask any creature that ever hunted us long before we learned to build shelter or light fire. We do not lose the people we love quietly. We never have." Leora did not answer right away. She simply reached out and took my hand, small fingers wrapped tightly around mine, holding on like she meant it, and did not let go until the real guards finally reached us. 3 years on this assignment, and that night I finally understood why the Spire had chosen a human for this post in the first place. It was never about strength. Half the species in this part of the galaxy could outmatch me without effort. It was never about speed either, or size, or any of the things her people usually measured before choosing a guardian. It was that when something we decide to protect is threatened, we do not wait for permission, we do not run the numbers. We simply act, and we keep acting until the threat is gone. The security team swept through the hall within minutes, securing the 6 intruders and sealing every entrance. A senior officer named Callum approached us first, breathless, his uniform still crooked from running. "Are you both unharmed?" he asked, looking between me and the princess with visible relief. "We're fine," I said. "You might want to check that ceiling vent, though. That's how they got in." Callum's face went pale as he glanced upward at the gaping hole above us. He turned to his team and began issuing orders, his voice sharp with urgency now that the danger had passed and the mistakes were becoming clear. Leora stayed close to me while the hall filled with more guards, medics, and finally her own advisors, who arrived looking equal parts relieved and horrified. An older woman named Marguerite, the head of the princess's diplomatic staff, rushed forward and pulled Leora into an embrace, checking her over as if searching for any mark left behind. "I am unharmed," Leora told her gently, though her eyes kept drifting back to me. "Because of him." Marguerite turned to look at me properly for the first time, and something in her expression shifted from worry to quiet gratitude. She did not say much, only a small nod, but it carried more weight than words might have. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of questions, statements, and the careful process of securing the embassy grounds. I answered what I could, though my mind kept circling back to that first moment when the ceiling gave way and 6 shapes dropped into the room, like a warning nobody had given us in time. Later, once the hall had been cleared and the 6 intruders taken into custody, I found Leora sitting alone near one of the tall windows, watching the lights of the city below. I sat down beside her without a word, giving her space to speak first if she wanted to. "I was afraid," she admitted after a long moment. "I thought that was how it would end." "It's all right to be afraid," I told her. "Fear just means the moment mattered. It does not mean you failed." She looked at me then, studying my face the way she sometimes did when she was trying to understand something about humans that her lessons had never quite explained. "Will they try again?" she asked quietly. "Maybe," I said honestly, "but it will not matter. As long as I am here, they will have to go through me first, and I do not plan on making that easy for anyone." She managed a small, tired smile at that, the first one I had seen from her since the attack began. "My tutors were wrong about your people," she said softly. "You are not unremarkable at all." I did not have a clever answer for that, so I simply sat with her in silence, as the city lights flickered outside the window, both of us letting the adrenaline slowly fade, both of us grateful the night had ended the way it had. 3 years of watching over her, and I finally understood the full weight of what this assignment meant. It was never just a job. It had become something closer to a promise, one I intended to keep for as long as she needed me to. The hall behind us would be repaired within days. The broken glass would be replaced, the ceiling vent sealed and reinforced, the marble floor polished, until no trace of the attack remained. But some things would not be so easily repaired, and I suspected neither of us would forget this night for a very long time. Still, as I sat beside her watching the city glow beneath the stars, I felt something settle inside me that had not been there before. A quiet certainty that no matter what came next, no matter who else tried to reach her through ceilings or shadows or silence, I would be standing exactly where I had stood tonight, between her and whatever came for her. Every single time.